All right, so here is a short video walk around of the Isuzu. So let's check it out. In the front, we have a bumper made by Revenge Fab. It has a worn M8000 winch with 5/16 synthetic rope, 80 foot of it, and a winch rope stopper there. And then walk around the side here, you can see the KM2 tires. These are 3310.5s, and they were installed this year. I don't know, they may have 5 or 8,000 miles on them, something like that. Wheels are the Snowflake Isuzu wheels. Are super lightweight, so the idea was to keep the weight down on the rig. My gas mileage actually went up going to the 33s from the 32s, which is pretty cool. Looking around the side here, you can see the body and paint is, average good condition, I guess, for being a 20-year-old truck or whatnot. All of the tube work was done by Revenge Fab. You can see for the EXO cage, kind of all the different bars that go around the truck. Underneath here in the back, we have the Extreme High Lift Jack. It has the rubber stopper block as well as the boot for protecting it. It's a pretty slick setup because it's mounted in such a way that the truck box can open and you can have access to all your stuff in the back. So it's pretty great. Back here on the side, you can see it does have a bit of a dent from some off-road trip. It's not perfect, but it's in good shape for an old truck. Back bumper is made once again by Revenge Fab, and it is a full bolt-on bumper, which is pretty neat. Let's take a look inside the bed here. Got the floor mats in here. Have the original floor mats underneath here, as well as rubber floor mats to protect those. The bed, you can see the fenders have been retubbed, so you can see the kind of the welds there as the fenders are moved in to prevent the tire rubbing. The back here we have a couple gas tanks, a couple jerry cans, and they have cable locks on them, so you don't have to worry about people stealing it, and adds another 10 gallons to the range on it, which is pretty slick. We'll walk around the other side here. You can see the Thule bed rack. This has got quick disconnects, so you can just push the button here once it's unlocked and lift it off so you have access to your full bed space. It's super slick for hauling your mountain bike. Put a couple mountain bikes up here, and then you still have your bed free for hauling all your camping gear. And the other cool thing with it is that you keep your bike from hanging out the back of it, so it's more protected, and has less drag because of it sits lower compared to putting on your roof or something like that. It really slick setup. I also use it for hauling my snowboard, and I've used it to haul a ladder before. It's very versatile, so it's pretty slick. Walk down the other side here. You can see, of course, the ARB roof tent and more of the sliders and bars and all that fun stuff. CB antenna, it's one of those Wilson Flex antennas, so it doesn't really need a spring mount. It can actually bend 180 degrees, which is pretty slick. It's great for off-road use. The height of it is just a little bit taller than the roof rack with the tent, so it's a nice little measuring stick if you're driving into a parking garage, something like that, to know if you're going to clear or not. So that is a tour of the exterior of the Isuzu. All right, so I'm going to show you a quick setup of the ARB roof tent, so stay tuned. So there you saw how quick and easy it is to set up the ARB roof tent. It only takes a couple minutes when you get to your destination, and it's much more comfortable than sleeping on the ground. So I'm gonna just take you a quick walk around here. The awnings I haven't set up, but you can just see what the tent looks like. Here's a walk around. The awnings set up very quickly, and you can use some of them. Oftentimes I just set up one of the awnings and open up a window for extra ventilation if I want it. And let's poke our head inside here so you can take a look what it looks like in there. The tent's actually a lot bigger than what you'd think it would be from the outside. It sleeps a couple people real comfortable, plus room for your bags and whatnot. The cover is actually brand new. It's from ARB. They sent a replacement cover because one of the seams had started coming undone, and the rest of the tent's in excellent shape. Okay, inside the truck, just a few things to point out. The windows have been tinted. They are using a carbon XP film from Suntech, 35%, so it's legal. And it's got the UV blocker. It's like 99% UV blocker, and non-metallic, so it doesn't block your cell service. Pretty slick tent there. Inside, it's got the factory original bench seat, which is actually in great shape. The door lamp up top works, unlike most Toyotas I've had. The up here, you got the sun visors. The roof panel's in good shape. The carpets are in very good shape and clean for especially being an older rig. Inside here you got the ARB lockers. So of course this one does your compressor, rear and front locker, which is awesome for off-road. The dash has been swapped out. I had a good friend of mine. He had a spare dash that had a tachometer, which mine originally didn't, so put this in and reset the mileage so it actually matched the old odometer. So it's the correct mileage on there, and it has some cool stuff like a voltmeter and temperature gauge and so forth, and it actually works, which is pretty slick. Also, he had the setup for intermittent wipers, which is awesome here in the Northwest. So you got intermittent wipers, low and high. So super slick. Factory, it just had a mist button, which isn't super useful. CB radio, it's built into the dash. You can see it's got a front-facing speaker, has weather channel. It's one of my favorite Cobra CBs. It's fairly small for what it does, and it's better quality than the real cheapies. So down here we've got the CD player. It's an Alpine deck. Face comes off, of course, and it's got a MP3 USB connection, as well as an adapter for your iPod, iPhone, and then it also has an auxiliary connection, so you can plug in anything you want to and listen to it. Speakers aren't too incredible, but hey, it's better than the cell phone I was listening to music on previously. It just has 2 speakers, one on each side. They're new speakers matching Alpines to the deck, so that's pretty slick. So that's about it of the inside. You can see it's in good shape for an older rig for sure. Carpets and whatnot. One other thing too I appreciate about this truck is that the door panels are just complete plastic, so it's super easy to clean after you've been out on a trail or whatnot. The one other thing I want to point out is the hinges on the driver door are actually new. Went to the dealer and got the hinges replaced. Factory hinges had a little bit of sag to them, and this not only eliminated any wind noise, but also made the door open and close like it was supposed to from the factory. This little truck has been a champ. I have never had a older truck, even the Toyotas I've had, that have been as reliable and just solid. One of the things that I liked about this when I originally bought it was just the simplicity of the truck. It is incredibly basic and easy to get to stuff. The engine compartment is exceptionally spacious. There's just room everywhere. It's very, very easy to work on the truck. It has throttle body injection. I know it looks like a carburetor, but it's actually throttle body injection, which works exact same as fuel injection off-road. No issues at angles or whatnot, starting or running. It will pretty much run at any angle, assuming your tires are somewhat on the ground. It's got a K&N air filter on it. The hoses for the radiator, upper and lower, are replaced. Those are from the dealer, so those are factory Isuzu parts. The belts, serpentine belts, new. The idler pulleys, new. Also replaced the exhaust manifold studs on both sides. Had a couple broken ones, so it's got all new studs both sides, as well as the gaskets. It's got the exhaust donuts replaced, so no exhaust leaks. Runs super quiet. Starts every time. First time, it's been just a little champ. Clutch has been replaced. New master and slave clutch cylinders. It has new throw-up bearing, and this is quality stuff. This is from X-Eddy, the clutch, which is the Japanese OE style clutch. And then it had new rear main seal installed, input and output tranny seals from the Isuzu dealer installed. And then, of course, I mentioned underneath that it's got the U-joints all replaced with quality units there. Up there on the firewall is the Warren winch controller. That's a wireless winch controller. Down here you see the AirB compressor. It has a custom bracket that actually uses the factory holes in the fender to mount to, and operates front and back air locker, as well as the tire air up. You just plug in right there. This compressor is fast. It's surprisingly fast for its size. It does my 33-inch tires in about 2.5 minutes, from about 20 pounds to about 40 pounds. So it's super slick setup. There's the Warren M8000 winch controller. It's got extended battery cables, the AirB battery. Top mounts just run the winch, side mounts run the vehicle. Got the blinkers relocated inside the grille here, so they're kind of slick because you can't really see them until they turn on. I tinted the lenses on them too. The engine otherwise is mostly original as far as I know. It hasn't had any issues whatsoever. I actually have the DEQ pass certificates. It barely registered on their emissions testing, which is awesome for an older rig. And everything works. So it's a simple little truck that just goes and does what it needs to. There it is, all revved up and whatnot. It's been everywhere. This truck has gone, I live in Portland, Oregon. It's gone up to Canada. It's gone all the way down into Northern California. It's been all over Oregon and Washington, different trips, places, trails, remote camping, and never missed a beat. It's not what I would consider an extreme rig, but it was built is a very purpose-built vehicle that has just reliability and capability in mind. So it goes places anywhere that it can possibly clear. As far as trails goes, it will go. The traction on it's phenomenal. Front and rear lockers. It has super low transfer case gears, 3.07 to 1, and it's exceptional off-road. Okay, so at the front side of the suspension, ball joints, upper and lower, were replaced, and these are not the cheap ones. These are expensive Napa ones, the lifetime warranty extremely durable ones. I think they're around 150 each. Bump stop, you can kind of see it possibly underneath there. It's a low profile bump stop. Adds a little bit of suspension travel to it. Then the braided steel brake line, obviously for strength, and it's longer than stock. Shocks are the OME shocks all the way around. The front steering, it has the heavy duty tie rods, which I believe the outers are off of a 44, so it's all very, very tight. Good steering on it. All the bushings are all good on it. The sway bar I just put back on, but I've been running without it for the last year or so. It actually handles really well even without it. And the CV shaft here, you'll notice the boots on it are brand new. Just replaced those. The other side is still the original, but it's not leaking, so it's been left alone. Okay, so poking my head underneath the truck here just so you can see the skid plates. As you can see here, this front skid has been reinforced. It's got steel plates that's been welded to it, as well as a steel bar. And that basically eliminates any of the bending or whatnot if you're on rocks or anything like that. The cross member was a stock cross member that was reinforced with steel plates all across it, and it basically keeps it from bending. The stock cross member would actually bend if you're lifting the vehicle by jacking up the center section of it, and this one won't bend or tweak at all if you're lifting off of it. Alright, so now I'm going to give you a tour of the rear suspension section here. And first thing I want to point out, I forgot to show you on the front, is that the fenders have all been re-tubbed, meaning that they've been moved in to allow clearance for the 33-inch tires without having to have body lift. You can probably see up there in the fender well how it has a seam up there, and that's basically where the fender was cut and moved in. And that was also done in the front. The fender, or the firewall, was clearanced to allow the tires to fully compress and not rub. So it's a great way to keep the truck lower to the ground, yet also avoid doing body lift and whatnot. Exhaust, which was put in a few months ago, and one of the things with the exhaust that I really wanted to achieve over the stock exhaust is keeping the piping extremely high and tucked up, so that way it wouldn't be visible, but also wouldn't get hung up on the trail. So you can see it was angled down and kind of cut off, just above the rear bumper, so that way it wouldn't get hit by anything of the rocks. And you can see how it was bent and brought up inside the frame there and tucked up very high. And the muffler, same thing, was located much higher than the stock one, and then you can see it ties into the factory exhaust back there. You can see the spare tire, which is a full-size 33-inch spare tire, sitting underneath there. It still has plenty of room between the axle and itself. The axle itself is a stock axle with 456 gears and ARB locker, and then the bearings were replaced on both sides with nice SKS quality bearings, along with the axle seals were all replaced. And you can see there's a braided steel brake line. The rotors are new, the calipers are new, the brake pads are new. The e-brake cable was replaced on both sides. The factory ones are starting to split. Those are brand new from the dealer. They cost about $250. The springs are Old Man Emu Dakar springs. They have the OME bushings front and back, as well as the OME shackles, which have the built-in stop to keep the spring from swinging too far forward. Super nice setup. It rides incredible, and even when it's loaded down, it barely makes any difference as far as the ride height. It might go down ½ inch or something with a full load in the bed. You can see here's the OME shocks. All of it has worked exceptionally well out on the trail, and all in really good shape, especially for being an old truck. It doesn't have any of the cancer rust stuff, which is super nice. The back, of course, you can see that there's a 33-inch full-size spare tire. This obviously is not inexpensive to do. I actually bought another matching Snowflake 15-inch wheel, and then bought a brand new KM2 tire. So it's a full 5 set of tire and wheels that all match. And then you actually use the stock factory crank to bring the tire up and down, but I didn't think that was adequate for especially off-road use. You know, if you come up against a rock or something. So we added this custom tire carrier, and so it works in conjunction with the factory crank, and you can see there's a pull pin here, and when you pull it, this whole arm assembly pivots down, and then you can use the factory wheel crank to actually drop the tire down. So it's super slick because it hangs it up pretty high. Obviously, it's been fairly well protected overall, and it's a lot stronger than just using the factory chain or whatnot that's up there. The rear bumper, you can see, actually bolts to the factory frame positions there, and so you can pull off the rear bumper if you need to. There's a rear support there that goes to the sidebar section, and then you can see the underside here has the receiver hitch as well as the toe points along here. Okay, so I just slid underneath the truck here, and you can see the truck underside is pretty clean, especially for an old truck. It has never left any sort of drops or drips or anything like that in the driveway, so it seems to be pretty tight. The front drive shaft, I have replaced the U-joints front and back on it, and you can see kind of a front view of the skid plate set up there. I'm going to go ahead and scoot back, and you can take a look at the cross member. So this is obviously a custom built cross member. Okay, so scooting back underneath the truck here, you can see it's still got the stock catalytic converter. It's in good shape overall still. You can see the drive shaft. The back drive shaft has all new Spicer U-joints, and works very well, no vibrations. You can see the factory gas tank skid plate. It's actually a very heavy duty skid plate. I've never hit it on a rock, so had no reason to reinforce it, and surprisingly it stays out of the rocks pretty well. Here's a view of the rear differential from underneath here. One of the things, especially you guys on the East Coast will appreciate, is that there is no rust anywhere on this truck. It's one of the beauties of living in Oregon. We don't get any, very little snow and very mild climate, and we don't salt our roads. So the frame and all the bolts are, even being 20 years old, it's easy to take them loose and take things apart without breaking, which is very nice when working on the rig. You can see the frame section here. I've spray painted and whatnot. Still got some grime and dirt and stuff on it, but there it is. One of my favorite features is the Isuzu still fits in a standard height garage. And that's impressive considering it's running 33-inch tires and has a roof tent on top of it. This is really great for being able to work on the truck, as well as if you're wanting to drive into parking garages or whatnot. It just gives you more versatility.